I've been waiting so long for this episode to come out, and I'm so glad that it's finally here. Stick around and I bet you'll get excited too. In my last video, we talked about how to craft compelling how might we questions to frame a problem that we're trying to solve and set ourselves up for success in the make it portion of a design challenge. The make it phase is all about generating ideas and testing them, which involves both ideation and prototyping. Today we're going to focus on ideation, which is the creative process of idea generation that can potentially solve or answer that how might we question. If you remember back a few videos ago, we briefly discussed the difference between convergent and divergent thinking, or those idea currents that kind of flow through the design challenge. Ideation is all about divergent thinking, or exploring as many possibilities and potential solutions as possible. It typically occurs in a spontaneous, free-flowing, non-linear manner, such that many ideas can be generated in an emergent fashion. So let's get into that. I'm gonna walk you through 3 tips and tricks to earn your passport to Ideation Nation. We'll start with a best practice, followed by a creativity workout that you can then use with your team to put that practice into action. As a reminder, before you get started, you'll need that how might we question that we talked about in my last video. So if you haven't watched it yet, hit pause, watch that, and then meet me right back here. The first best practice for ideation is to focus on generating out-of-the-box ideas. A great way to practice this is with the mashup workout, which is all about combining seemingly unrelated things to spark fresh ideas. Here's how it works. Using your how might we question, pick 2 broad, unrelated categories that relate somewhat to your how might we question, and come up with as many elements as possible that you can in that category. For example, let's take the question, how might we create opportunities for students to support their social emotional well-being virtually? You might choose to brainstorm in the categories things students enjoy in their free time and strategies related to CASTLE's social emotional learning competencies. When you're done brainstorming, it's time to combine items from those 2 lists to develop a brand new idea. For example, we might turn to TikTok and appreciating diversity. Now, to further refine that idea, maybe we could have students create TikTok videos celebrating their own identity and the unique identities of others. Or let's take SpongeBob SquarePants, that's still a thing, right? And identifying emotions. To further refine that idea, maybe we select an episode of SpongeBob SquarePants for students to watch and identify the range of emotions expressed in that episode. This strategy can really allow you to flex your creativity muscles, so have fun with it. The next best practice I'll share with you is all about the free flow of ideas. This speaks to the ideas of deferring judgment and focusing on the quantity of ideas versus the quality of ideas during ideation. Since we're thinking divergently here, it is super important to focus your attention on coming up with as many ideas as possible versus the right ideas. There will be a time for that. As you're ideating, you want the flow of ideas to be quick and constant. Once you write something down, don't pause and think, is this a good idea? That's why sticky notes are a great way to write it, stick it, and then move on. There'll be plenty of time to filter out those less optimal ideas later. A great way to practice this is with the 30 circles activity. You, if you're working independently, or everyone on your team, will start with a blank sheet of paper and draw 30 identical or as close to identical circles as possible. Better yet, print one out for consistency in circle size. I'll put a link to a template in the description below. Now for 3 minutes, your task is to turn as many of those blank circles as possible into recognizable objects. At the end of 3 minutes, reflect on the ideas that you came up with or compare the results with your team. What do you notice? Do your circles look vastly different from one another? Or do they follow a certain theme? Did you think outside the circle? This workout really encourages you to come up with lots of ideas in a short amount of time, which we call fluency, as well as ideas that are distinct from one another, which we call flexibility. By practicing both fluency and flexibility regularly, you'll be able to rattle off ideas like an overly caffeinated auctioneer in no time. Lastly, embrace the notion of yes and. This term, popularized by the improv world, encourages us to build off of the ideas of others and continue to defer judgment in an ideation session. Whether you're brainstorming by yourself or with others, yes and allows you to first acknowledge the contribution that's been made to the ideation process by someone else, and then 2, build off of what's already been said. If you hear a yeah, but, or a straight up no, when ideas are supposed to be flowing free, it's like someone accidentally pushed pause on the music right before you were about to unleash a dance break. It just kills the vibe. A workout you can try with your team to flex this creative muscle is the story spine. It's inspired by the geniuses of Pixar and their 22 rules of storytelling. How this workout runs is that everyone in a group is responsible for contributing a single sentence to a story according to this framework. Some people might be responsible for more than one depending on how big your group is. So person 1 starts by finishing the sentence, once upon a time. Person 2 continues by finishing the sentence, and every day, and so on. Regardless of what potentially absurd something the person before you might say in this activity, the only option is to add to it. This activity can range from serious to silly, but it's a really powerful way to get the creative juices flowing and adopt the yes and mindset on your team so you can generate real and actionable solutions to challenges that you may be facing. All right, 3 best practices, 3 workouts. Now it's time for my to-do for you. In the next week, identify an opportunity where you might need to come up with a bunch of potential solutions to a challenge. Before you start, lead your team through a quick ideation workout like the ones that I just shared to get the creative juices flowing. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time and happy designing.